So you are a Ghanaian and you are getting married. Today I want to talk to you about 7 legal things that you must know before getting married in Ghana. These are very important things. Each of them is very important, and so my dear, you need to know this because you will need them. You will need this information. So please do not skip and try as much as possible to watch this video to the end. And if you love it, please give me a thumbs up. So let's get right into it. The first legal thing you should know before getting married in Ghana is the type of marriages. I've been getting a lot of questions about this. In Ghana, there are 3 types of marriages: the customary marriage, the marriage under the ordinance, and the Islamic marriage. And I'm going to take a few seconds to explain them to you. The customary marriage has to do with what we refer to as the engagement, and it is legally accepted in Ghana. There is nothing wrong with that, and you can do that and decide not to do any other marriage again. The marriage under the ordinance is the one we do in the court or you do in the church. I think I have a video about processes and procedures to get married in Ghana, and in that video I explained these types of marriages into detail. So if you haven't watched that, please watch that. So in the marriage under the ordinance, you go to the court, you file what we call ban of notice, and then if your church is registered, you can do it in the church. If your church is not registered, you go back and do it in the court. Mostly people confuse marriage under the ordinance with blessing. The blessing is that the church, if the church has not registered with the court to be able to conduct marriage under the ordinance, and then you do your wedding in the church without the registrar's certificate, that is not marriage under the ordinance. Now, the only difference between the customary marriage and the marriage under the ordinance is that with the customary marriage, the man has the right to, the man would be able to marry more than one wife. It is a potential polygamous marriage. But with the marriage under the ordinance, the man or the woman cannot marry any other husband or any other wife. It is 1-to-1. And that is the only difference. Mostly people think that no, it has nothing to do with that. The only difference is that one is with a customary marriage, our tradition and the law allows the man to marry more than one wife. With the marriage under the ordinance, the law does not allow the man to marry more than one wife, and that's the only difference. So the customary marriage, the marriage under the ordinance, and the Islamic marriage is the one our dear Muslims do. So these are the 3 types of marriages in Ghana. Before you get married, both of you should sit down, discuss, decide on which one you want to do. But note, before you do the marriage under the ordinance, from the traditional point of view, you should do the customary marriage before you do the marriage under the ordinance. People think that when you do both, you've married the woman twice. In a way, yes. But then, you can't also just take someone's daughter or someone's son, hold this on her hand and take him or her to the court and say, yeah, but worry, without Ebusiano being aware. In the Bible, when Isaac wanted to marry Rahel, the father said, okay, serve me for 7 years. Then after that, I'll give you my daughter. To him, that was the bride price. If the father of the bride says that, give me a bottle of water, then I'll give my daughter to you, that is to him. So that signifies that the man, Papane Frinakumem, has wholeheartedly handed her daughter over to you. And so that is why the customary marriage is very important, so that if anything, you can bring her back to the family. So the customary marriage, the marriage under the ordinance, and then the Islamic marriage are the 3 types of marriages that we do in Ghana, and the law accepts all of them. The next legal thing that you must know is the age restrictions. In Ghana, when you are 18 years, you can get married, but with the written consent of your family, of your parents. 18 years, yes, you can get married, but your parents should give a written consent that they have agreed that you should get married at that age. At 21 years, you can get married without a written consent, but with the consent of your family. From 21 going, you need the consent of your parents, but they can be there, it can be verbal. The next thing is the marriage certificate. Now, when you do marriage under the ordinance, you are given a marriage certificate, and it's very long. Sometimes the middle is blue, sometimes the middle is green. And the difference is that when you do it in the church, I think that is blue. When you do it in the court, it is green. It's the same thing. It just signifies that the marriage is marriage under the ordinance. Mostly some churches have certificates they do. So with that, you see they've written, for example, the Methodist Church Ghana, solemnization of marriage. That is not a marriage certificate of from the court. That is not a marriage under the ordinance. That is something the church has decided to do. So if you decide to do marriage under the ordinance, my dear, you need that certificate. It is a legal document that you need. It is something that you will need, especially maybe if you want to travel outside or you want to seek transfer from your employers. For instance, you're a nurse and then you got married, you are living in Kumasi, your husband is living in Takoradi, and you want to transfer your company, the Ministry of Health to transfer you from Kumasi to Takoradi. You will need your marriage certificate to show that yes, I am married and I would want to join my husband. So this is a legal document that you need. That is if you decide to do marriage under the ordinance. This point is very important to me because mostly we do not pay attention to them, and it has to do with the change of name. Now, after you get married, you are not automatically Mrs. Mensah, Mrs. Osei, Mrs. whatever. You need to follow a procedure. Yes, you can call yourself Mrs. Osei, Mrs. Mensah in your church. Unofficially, you can. But if you want to make it official, you need to follow a procedure. You go back to the court, you swear an affidavit, and you change your name. For instance, Ernestina Crying to Ernestina Crying Upon or Ernestina Upon. You are allowed to maintain your maiden name and add your husband's name to it, or you can throw away your maiden name and take your husband. I decided to maintain my maiden name because my father didn't have a son, and I felt that when I throw away my maiden name, my father's name might. And so I decided to just maintain my maiden name and add my husband's name to it. So you go to the court, you tell them you want to change your name. They will let you swear an affidavit. Then the court will gazette it for you. They will gazette the name for you, and then they'll give you about 3 copies of the gazetted form. So that it just means that all your documents, when you went to school, you were Ernestina Crying. When you were doing your Ghana card, you were Ernestina Crying. At the bank, you were Ernestina Crying. But the gazetted form is telling everybody that now you are now Ernestina Crying Upon. But then all documents that are still having the Ernestina Crying is still you and it still holds. That is why you need to swear the affidavit and then let them gazette the new name for you. It is very important, else you are going to have problems with your name, especially with your social security, your bank, and other things. So this is very important. And note, it's totally based on you. It's totally your decision. You can decide to change your name. You can decide not to change it. It is totally your decision. But maybe, hey, me the papa. This is upon share. I want my husband, myself, and our kids to have like the Upon family. Yes. So it's your decision, and you can decide to do it or not. But I would advise that you do. And I know that, okay, let me also say this. Someone will also ask that, what if I change my name and then we get divorced? Do I have to change it back? It is your decision. You can decide to change it back. I know someone who they got divorced. She decided not to change her name. The man's father was like, I remember I went to church, I made an announcement and I mentioned the lady's name with the husband. Then the ex-husband's mother came to me after church as well. And it is her decision. She can decide to go and change it back since I decide to maintain it. And changing it, any long procedure, you just go and then they did it for you. They do it for you. And you don't have to pay Tika Kesibia. So please, let's take note of that. The next thing I want to talk about is property rights. You have to know the laws that has to do with property rights. So in Ghana, if we get married, whatever property that we are doing from the time we get married is for both of us. If the husband is paying for everything, it's for both of us. If the wife is paying for everything, it's for both of us. That is why I advise you that when you are doing properties together, especially when it has to do with landed property, and you are doing the documentation for the landed property, please and please again, do not make the name Mr. and Mrs. Upon. If possible, make it Mr. Michael Upon and Mrs. Ernestina Crying Upon. That way your name is strong. You know why? If you do it Mr. and Mrs. Upon, if tomorrow you are divorced, the next woman who comes and he marries her is also Mrs. Upon. Property rights is very important. Both of you, whatever property that you do is for both of you, unless you write you do a written something to back it that this book that we are buying, I am buying it alone and it is for me alone, and my husband signs that he agrees that it is for me alone. That is also there. But if that thing is not done, whatever you do from the time we are married, so whatever property that any of us does is for us. Not that withstanding, you can also do a property alone. He can also do a property alone. But as I said, there should be a written consent that the other party has signed that I agree that this property is for him alone or that property is for me alone. The last thing I want to talk about is divorce procedures. I know that it is not something that we want to talk about. And we are not thinking about the fact that we want to divorce, but it's me, Vanessa. Into divorce procedures, you also have to know when you want to divorce in Ghana. I think I've done a video about that one too, a detailed video about that. There are some reasons that you need to have. You can't marry and say no. I think there are two main reasons supported by other five reasons that you need to know. I'm going to put a link of that video in the description of this video. Watch that so that you know. And then if you want to, and then let me pass this comment that whatever marriage you do in Ghana, whether customary marriage or marriage under the ordinance or Islamic marriage, if you want to divorce, it must be divorced at the court. And you can do that. But Asemba, nipa ne betre will say, Munjaye. I saw one of a television show. The woman sent the drinks to the man and said, I will not marry again. And she went outside. Though their marriage was marriage under the ordinance, they didn't divorce at the court. They didn't sign the divorce certificate. And then the man married a new wife, customary marriage. The second wife, he didn't do marriage under the ordinance, so he did customary marriage. And then this man fell sick. The new wife took care of him for 10 years. And the man died. And then the first wife came back from the States and claimed that man is my husband. And so whatever properties, we are dividing it. And then she had a marriage certificate. Because they didn't sign a divorce certificate, the other lady went for a lawyer and the lawyer told her, no, your marriage is null and void because he did not sign the divorce certificate with the first wife. So before you go into the marriage, please also take note that whatever marriage needs to be divorced at the court. You can decide to do your own thing. Asemba send a mechanical from where but Asemba and I will be who say you call him Mrawa has it. So please watch that video about divorcing in Ghana. I'm going to put a link in this video. Kindly watch it. And so these are 7 legal things that I think you must know before you get married in Ghana. Thank you so much for watching this video today. And please, if you have any question, feel free to put in the comment section for me. And you can also share this video to your family and friends so that they can also benefit from this. And give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Thank you once again. And I'll definitely see you in the next video.